You're watching Next Pitch, the student athlete playbook for parents raising tomorrow's athletes.
Hi, Anthony Leverett, host of the Next Pitch podcast, and on behalf of my Emmy Award-winning producer, Jason Cardona, welcome in. Hopefully you are enjoying everything that we are putting out. We are having a blast doing this, and remember, if you like what we're doing, the best way to get the word out is to just share this with friends, family, colleagues. We have a bunch of stuff that we're working on that we're excited to be putting out here. So just stay tuned, and we'll let you know as things progress. Today, I'm joined by Natalie Valvo. She is the head tennis coach at South High School in Torrance, California. And man, what a ton of energy. She is young, and boy, does she have things figured out for a young coach. Obviously, really enjoyed the conversation, enjoyed the energy, made me excited to get back into a gym, get back involved with kids. We talk about her journey through sports. She was a multi-sport athlete growing up, a COVID kid, so sort of the impact of what COVID had on a generation of kids, and then through college, and now how it sort of shaped her philosophy in how she's taken over a program and coaching a group of young women. I really, really enjoyed the conversation with her. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. And without further ado, here's Natalie. Natalie, welcome to the show. I will have introduced you properly before you hopped on here, but thank you, first of all, for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me here, Anthony. I appreciate it as well.
Well, let's dive in. So before we kind of get to what you're doing now, I really want to hear your story and kind of your background. It's always fascinating to me of how coaches get to be coaches, and you never know how that happens until you go back to when they were kids. So let's start back at your earliest memory in athletics that you remember that really drew you into that athletics world. What was the first memory you have of athletics and sports?
Gosh, my parents have had a ball in my hand since I was a little kid, which is just great. And so, but I really think my first vivid memory was in kindergarten when I was playing rec league for my town at rec basketball. And so, you're playing with different ages and stuff, which also makes it fun. And I came sprinting into the gym and I hugged this girl who was on my basketball team. She was a year older than me. And I don't have siblings. So, I kind of like saw her as an older sister figure. And then I just think from there, then the rest was history. And that I just always have been involved with sports since.
So just that building those friendships through the athletics world was something that you will never forget.
Yes, 100%.
So you talk about basketball. Obviously, you're a tennis coach and a former college tennis player, which we're going to dive into. But you talk about the first memory was of basketball, right? Which, thank you very much. As a former basketball coach, that makes me feel very happy that people's first memory is with that bigger round ball. Did you play multiple sports on your way through, elementary, middle school, high school? When did tennis become your primary, and did it ever before college become your only sport, or did you do multiple sports all the way through high school?
Yeah. So I'm gonna plug my grandpa here, Malcolm Winslow down in San Diego, and Angel Lopez as well in San Diego, out of the San Diego Racket Club there. So my grandfather was always huge into tennis. He started the tennis team at Penn State during the World War II era. And so when I was born, it was very important for him and my mom to get a tennis racket into my hand. And then my dad was always big into basketball and like football, and just, I've very two different sides of sports that have meshed together perfectly. So I grew up my whole life playing every sport you can think of. I've done volleyball, beach volleyball, basketball, tennis, lacrosse, soccer, What else have I done? Did I say softball? I did softball, t-ball, just about everything. I'm really big into skateboarding, biking, like kind of more of those extreme sports as well. And then as I just got older, soccer, lacrosse, some of those sports weren't my thing. And then basketball and tennis just always really stuck. And it's really funny because tennis was more so my fun sport. I think it's really important for an athlete to have their main sport, but then to have another sport they do. Because it's the same thing. Like your body needs repetition to get better. But then if you constantly keep doing the same thing over and over again, you're not working other parts of your body that you might think you need. Like actually right now, I'm a competitive power lifter, funny enough. So, as an athlete, you never stop competing.
That's right.
And I'm battling through a back injury. And so I'm in physical therapy, and the muscles that we are working, I didn't even know I had. And so now that really even makes me see the importance of like, okay, you've got to play an off-season sport. And so tennis was always my off-season sport. So in basketball in high school, for CIF, which is California Interscholastic Federation, we won back-to-back CIF Southern Section championships. So I played 4 years of varsity basketball.
What high school?
Rolling Hills Prep in San Pedro.
Okay.
Coach Richard Mason was my basketball coach at the same time there too. Coach Harvey Katani was coaching the boys. He's known for being at Fairfax. He's coached Kevin Durant. So I've just been really lucky in this area to be surrounded by a lot of great and notable coaches, but they're not just great because they put in the work, and I got to see that firsthand. So then we went on to win 3 regional championships, and we won 1 state championship up in Sacramento, but since my sophomore year through my senior year, we made 3 appearances. So then once basketball season ended, I'd go and play tennis. You just kind of need a break, and I'm really fortunate also to have such a good group of friends from tennis that we've known since we were 10 years old, just from the area. And so I feel like once I got into coaching, I would love to also get back into basketball coaching, but when I got into coaching, there was an opportunity with tennis, just from who I grew up with. And I was like, let's do it. Like, I know the sport, by the end of the day, an athlete's an athlete. We all, you put your left foot forward and your right foot forward to run, your arms move while there's no difference in that. And then I've been coaching tennis for about the past 8 years, but in high school, I was a 4-sport athlete at times up until my junior year, when I was like, all right, college apps are getting crazy and everything. Let me just narrow my focus down onto what I really enjoy. But also while staying active, because I think keeping that blood flowing outside of the classroom is how you're going to be successful in the classroom. You got to be successful in the classroom, got to get good grades, but you also got to get your body moving outside the classroom so both can mesh nicely in the middle and you're a good all-around person.
So I love the fact that you very early, we talk about this a lot over the course of the show, is how important it is to be a multi-sport athlete because of what you talked about, the repetition. If you just do one as a young person, you're probably going to be better at 8, 9, 10 years old if you only play one sport than the other 8, 9, 10-year-olds. But eventually your body's going to break down, and those kids that are doing other sports are going to pass you. The things that they learn from that are critical to that development of holistic development of the young athlete. I love that you brought that up. So as you transition from just, okay, I'm doing 800 things, right, to narrowing it down to 4, narrowing it down to a couple. When did you decide that you wanted to play tennis in college? When was that how did that happen?
So my first college I went to was, so I transferred, and I'll get more into that too, but I went to Curry College in Milton, Massachusetts, and I had brought my basketball shoes, my tennis gear, everything. And I went, they were doing like not the career fair, but like club fair and stuff. And like athletics were there, and it was a Division III school. And so they had signups. They needed more people on the women's tennis team. And I was like, sure, why not? This is sounds like a good opportunity. Let's do it. And I loved it. It was great because we played in the fall semester. I know women's tennis is usually in the spring semester, but just for what conference and division, everything we're in, it was a little bit different. And so it was great from the jump to have a good community and group of people. And I did go try out to play basketball, and I just realized like I had such a successful time with basketball and so many good memories that, I was ready to just be done with it and really enjoy just the sport for what it was and the memories I had. Um, so I played a season of tennis at Curry College. I played number two doubles was my big thing. So I'm really into doubles, just coming from a team sport. And then the pandemic hit, unfortunately. So I started college in fall 2019 and the pandemic hit in 2020. And so I came home. I've actually never been back to the campus since. I came home for spring break and they said, we're done. We're going fully online. And so then I ended up taking just a whole year off just
Mm.
for financial reasons
That was
and
a
everything like that.
horrible time for kids in high school, kids in middle school, kids in college. It's a horrific time.
It's crazy how everyone is so affected by it. And the
Yeah.
more I talk to people, it's like, oh, yeah, wow, it was a horrible time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so I came home and then I did a year of community college during the pandemic, which was a great choice. I got to take fun classes like sports psychology. I got to take like a lot of like sports classes that I was interested in. And then I was like, all right, well, I think I'm going to transfer. I want a little bit of a bigger campus, and just to have more options to do that sometimes these smaller campuses can't always offer. And I transferred to Miami University in Oxford, Ohio, the 31-0 Red Hawks for the
Yeah.
NCAA men's
You were a big
basketball.
you were sporting your gear here this in March, weren't you?
It was amazing. Yes, I'd get all my friends to wear Miami gear when they were playing. It was amazing. And the women's had a great run as well, making it into the first round of the March Madness on the women's side. So that was just
Go Red
super
Hawks.
exciting. Go Red Hawks. So I graduated in May of 2024 with my bachelor's of science in sports communication and media and a minor in journalism. And then when I graduated college, I moved back home to Los Angeles, and then I got right into coaching. And I've been coaching, like I said, I've been coaching for like the past 8 years, but I've really been dedicating to this craft since fall of 2024. And then on top of that, too, I run the social medias for Mu Sigma Lambda, which is the first ever national co-ed sports fraternity. So there's professional business fraternities. And then a group of people that I've been so lucky to get to know had started a professional business fraternity specifically for sports industry to connecting collegians to industry professionals. And they brought me on. And so I've been doing those two part-time and it's been great.
That's awesome. So you just talked about doubles. So I want to dive in. This is fascinating to me. I'm a team sport guy.
Yeah.
I play golf, but I never would be competitive golf, right? I'm only competing against myself. In my life, I was basketball, football, baseball. Those were my sports, right? How is it as a player where you have an individual sport, you have a team sport with you play doubles, and then you have the whole team when you're competing against another university, another high school, or another club? How as a player do you think about that dynamic versus being on a basketball team where it's a complete team sport concept? How do you think about that?
So I think having a team sport background has been beneficial as to why my high school team has been so successful. So I don't think I mentioned this, but on top of like doing clinics and private coaching, I also am the head varsity girls coach for a tennis team. And so I think
I
having
want to
that
talk about
background
that. I want to talk
has
about that. We're going to get into that. Yeah.
great. Yeah. So I think having a team first background has been very important in creating a successful culture at my high school. And so, big believer in we over me, and there's no I in team. Um, and just I think the first thing that's so important at the high school level is, the percentage of kids that go college or go pro is low. And either that could be an unfortunate or fortunate thing, depending on just who the person is. And so the biggest thing is we need to cultivate, in this case, a sisterhood before we can even be successful. And so I think even if you have an individual sport, even like boxing or fencing, you're still representing a bigger organization. And so that's the first thing that I just make sure the girls knows, like when you're in the classroom and everything, like you're representing your high school first, then the tennis team, and then yourself. And so I always just make sure we, kind of start off just talking, getting to know them. And then from there, once you develop that trust and some rapport, then you can really start getting into the nitty gritty things of the sport of like, because, we were both, 16 at one point. We didn't want to listen to somebody telling us something if we couldn't trust them, if we had no respect for them. Like, who are you? I'm 16 years old. I know everything. Like, who are you to tell me something?
You are way ahead of the game here. Like the idea that you figured that out at as young as you are in the coaching world is earning people's trust in any sort of leadership capacity, right? And as you just mentioned, with 16-year-old kids, you can't fool them. And so being able to do that and earn that trust before you start critiquing them and trying to make them do something different than they're already doing it, or trying to coach them and teach them, you're way ahead of the game. Good on you.
Thank you. And I've been so lucky to have mentors, including my parents, who I've kind of just learned that from day one of being an athlete before I was a coach. And so there's a lot that I've taken from my past to really implement it, because I've seen what was successful. I am a high school state champion. So I know what is successful at the high school level to win. But at the same time, too, I was trained like a D1 athlete, I feel like, by my high school basketball coach. And so if you just know what it takes to win, that translates to anything, whether that's becoming CEO of a company, whatever, going on to play college sports. It's all, sports is so transferable. And that's why I wanted to get into to study it, because coaching and leadership applies to the same thing of what, your manager at, the grocery store or whatever. It's the same tools and skills to have a successful organization. It's all goes hand in hand. So going back to what we were talking about is that, so once, I really got to know the players and they got to know me. I straight up told them the same thing I told you. I was a big basketball player. Tennis was my fun sport. But I feel like that's why I enjoy coaching it a little bit more, is just because it was always seen as a little bit more enjoyable at times. We can just talk and just very much, be vulnerable with one another, which I think is great. And like, it's the same thing of like, if I have a player having a bad day, they're not afraid to come and tell me that, of like, hey coach, like grades aren't, I didn't get the test score I wanted, or, whatever it could be. And we talk it through versus getting mad at them because they're not playing well, when life happens, when other life circumstances are going on. So just really bringing in that inclusivity. A big thing is I like to do doubles in practice and getting them play with different people to get to know one another, I think is really important. I also think, creating a team, a unit is important of what happens off the court. So we'll do team dinners. We've done team ice cream runs.
I want to come play on your team.
Yeah, you should. The girls did karaoke one night. I guess they like to go line dancing. There's a restaurant they tell me all this stuff that they do. I think it's so cool. And the karaoke night and line dancing, I didn't have to do anything with that. They took that into their own initiative, which was great. And then that all comes back onto the court on how they connect with one another. So then what I tell them, though, is great. We've got the team aspect checked off. What I love so much about tennis is the individuality of it, because there's so much uniqueness that comes with it, and it's yourself, especially with my singles players. That's what I really tell them, is that, hey, we're a team, but you've got to find your unique playing style. And I can tell you XYZ on how to get to the ball, but by the end of the day, you've got to figure out what works best for you to keep that ball in play and to win points. And so it's all orbiting and all connecting on how all these things work, from singles to doubles. I have girls who play singles and doubles, which honestly is probably my favorite part of this team, is how versatile they are. I can put just about any of my girls into singles or doubles, which is really impressive because sometimes people do take a little bit of specialty in one or the other because there is some differences. And the fact that my girls can take any challenge is something that, yeah, we might not win every game, but they're going to get thrown into situations in college and they're going to be able to handle it solely because of what we're doing right now on the court.
So let's dive into, you already brought this up for yourself and how important it is for you personally. You're doing powerlifting now. Of course you are. That probably wasn't something that they allowed you to do in the second grade, or you probably would have been doing it in the second grade based on everything else you did. But the idea that physical fitness is important, right? And I know you talk to your kids about their fitness level, obviously as it is related to tennis, but also as related to life, right? So why is it important that the fitness level and the way they take care of their body for both tennis, but then also in how those build habits for life? How do you bring that to the table with your student athletes?
Yeah. So I do not like to run. When we had to get on the line to do 17s and everything, I despised it. I was always the last one in.
You're like every other athlete. My son's running track right now as his second sport, and I saw the perfect shirt the other day. Your punishment is my sport, and that is exactly how I feel about running. Like I need to get that shirt because I hated it too. All of us team sport people hate running.
Hate running. Yeah.
Yeah, hate it.
I hate it.
Okay.
And so when but I'm a hyper person. I'm active. I like to stay doing stuff. And so honestly, when the pandemic hit and there was nothing to do in a way, my dad and I did gym garage. And that's where I really got into lifting. I was always into lifting just in the off season for sports, just because of the importance to build strength. I mean, I'm only 5'5", so I've got to have some advantage to me when playing a height sport like basketball. So I got really into lifting then. And then when I went to college at Miami, I joined the powerlifting club team there, which was great to have a structure. That's the biggest thing with sports is the structure. And so we practiced for 2 hours in the evening, Monday through Thursday, which was great. I ended up competing. I kind of thought I was done with competing and I got talked into it. So I competed in 2022, 21, one of those falls. And I ended up breaking California state records for my weight class, which I didn't even know was a thing. I got a text one day in the dorm saying that I did that. And then I was like, okay, yeah, I really like to compete. So I've continued training and I've competed in about so I compete about like once a year and about 2 more USAPL, USA powerlifting competitions. I've done 2 in Ohio and I competed in my first one in California last year, which was really cool. And so that's always just kind of been a big thing for me is that to stay fit doesn't necessarily mean that you have to run or you have to do what, you didn't enjoy, because to this day, I'm like, I should probably go and run, but I was like, I don't want to. And so with my team, I'm very big of and I learned this from my cousin who is a basketball coach out in the New York and Pennsylvania area, of that a lot of this conditioning should come from drills. Running and stuff shouldn't be a punishment. Why not we just make them work hard in their drills and in match play or scrimmages? Because why should they have to run? And so kind of just experience firsthand of how much I didn't like to run and I didn't like seeing it as a punishment. And now that I'm still not into running, but I've seen how getting fit in other ways has been beneficial. That's what I'm trying to put onto them. So one of my JV girls said, oh, I'm kind of into volleyball. Volleyball season's over. Beach volleyball season's over. I told her, I said, play tennis in the fall and go play volleyball in the spring. I go, who cares if you make JV, varsity, frosh off? Why does it matter? Just go out there and play and have fun. That's my least favorite thing I think about, especially at the high school level, is, oh, I'm a sub. Oh, I didn't make varsity as a sophomore or a freshman or a junior, at any level. You're a part of a program. Why does it matter? To me, just be so happy that you're playing. And I learned that from my doubles partner my freshman year of college is because I was complaining one time about the lineup, and she's like, "I'm just happy to be here. I'm just happy to be playing." And I was like, "Yeah, I am just happy to be here and happy to be playing." Like, why does it matter so much of where you fall in certain things as long as you're part of a team and having a chance to play? And I started to learn that in high school. I started my freshman year of high school starting point guard, and then by my senior year I was like seventh man off the bench, which was fine. It was crazy at 18 years old how much you can learn from a 14-year-old, and realizing that those dynamics, age is truly just a number, and that you can learn from anybody younger or older than you or your same age. And so, then getting comfortable with learning my role that you can still be a leader coming off the bench. You don't have to be number one tennis singles star captain to be a leader. And I try to also really instill that leadership. I see leaders and girls who I would like to make captains who aren't my top players, but people like them. And I think that's really important too, that you want somebody on your team. They might not be that good, but if people gravitate towards them and like their energy and they boost morale, you want that on your team, because you could have the top 10 best athletes on your team, but all of them could have horrible personalities or don't mesh together, and you're not going to win. But I think you could have 10 average to lower athletes with great personalities who want to be there and who want to work hard, and you're going to have a higher success rate. And even if you're not winning, you're going to have a high success rate because they're going to still enjoy being together regardless. And the wins, I mean, Coach Corey Close, Bruins, 4's up, just won the national championship for UCLA women's basketball. And she said, banners hang in gyms, rings sit on shelves. It's who you become off the court as a character and a person is what lasts forever.
I agree wholeheartedly. You just said a whole bunch of important stuff right there. And it's one of the things that we harp on this show is that life is a series of failures, right? We fail over and over and over again, and not everything we do, but it happens a lot. And if you just play one sport, you're going to get better at it, and you're going to continue to not fail as much in that sport if you just play that one sport. Especially as a young person, putting yourself in difficult situations that you have to play a different role, maybe come off the bench, not be the star. Like, there's opportunity for growth. And as parents helping your child grow, the college scholarship is something that may happen. 3% of all high school athletes get a college scholarship. So if you transpose that down to youth sports, that number is minimal, right? Like, it's a small number. But the lessons that can be learned from those environments of how to ask for more playing time. Why is my role what it is? How do I get better? How do I fail? Know that I did practice more so I don't fail again. Like, all of those things are what is supposed to be taught through youth sports, not just the winning and the college scholarship. And that has gotten lost in this whole club sport environment that is just preaching you got to get to the next level.
Yeah. And yeah, there's so much, I think everyone comes at a lot of this stuff with such good intention.
Sure.
But yeah, like you said, it gets lost. Parents get ahead of themselves, and I'm not a parent, but as a parent and as a coach, what I need to do really is like, hey, like, when you talk to your kids, make sure they know it's out of love, make sure, but also ask them what they want. They're the ones out there battling. You get to sit and watch. And there's
That's
so
really
many
important.
fun.
That is really important. Ask your kids what they want.
Yeah.
And then give them opportunity to do that. That is a really, trying to force your kids to do what you think they want or what you want and living vicariously through them is going to create a disaster for you and your children. Finding out what they want and then giving them opportunity to thrive and empowering them to do that is a completely different deal than trying to make them do something that you either failed at or you want them to do.
100%. And I told my parents in high school, I was like, when I win, you can talk to me after a game. I said, if we lose, don't talk to me for like an hour. So, or don't talk about the game for about an hour. And they respected it. I got really lucky. They really did respect what I had to say. 4 years of high school sports, and they finally got it by senior year. But again, it's all out of love. And I think that's just the biggest thing that, again, at 16 years old, it's easy to forget at times, is that your parents want to see you thrive and be the best version of you. And so sometimes when they're like, why didn't you hit that overhead? How'd you miss that overhead? It's not so much because they're mad. They're like, they see this potential and they know you can get there, and that's where it's coming out of. And even to this day with my own parents, I live back at home with my parents. There's even certain things too where I get frustrated. I'm 25 years old and I get frustrated at stuff, and then I have to remember, okay, they just want me to be, successful. They want me to move out of the house, be able to pay my own rent, all that kind of stuff. And I really do think a parent's love never stops, but it can be shown in many different ways.
Yeah, as when I was coaching, we had two rules for parents: is you tell your kids after the game, I love you and I love watching you compete. And then
Yeah.
you don't talk about the game for at least an hour. And because that adrenaline and emotion that comes directly after the game can create really negative interactions in that car between your fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth grade kid and high school kid for that matter. And if you can figure out as a parent how to eliminate that and alleviate that, you're going to have a significantly better relationship. And all of the science, all of the studies, kids over and over again say they want to hear, I love you and I love watching you play. And then they don't want to hear all the negative things about Johnny, Susie, Sally, coach, what they did wrong. They just want to know that you love them and you love watching them play.
Exactly. Like, I was just told the other day, coming off the bench my senior year or after freshman year, basically, was, you always had such a good attitude. Like, how'd you do? Like, you always had such a great attitude. It was so impressive to watch from the stands. And I was sitting there thinking, and I was like, okay, I like came to terms that I knew I had a good attitude. But at 16 years old, it would have been really nice to hear that I had a good attitude with all these changes and stuff. And that's also my biggest thing, is you start with the positivity with these athletes,
Yeah.
especially in match play. You don't want to harp on the negatives, because if you start, oh, well, why didn't you hit that shot? Then they're going to be thinking about what they didn't do, versus like, okay, what's going well? Oh, well, I'm hitting a lot of good, my backhands. I've got a nice groove with my backhands. All right, so let's keep that keep doing what's working. And so I always try to make my athletes realize what's going well. I tell them what's going well. And then in practice is what we should work on, what wasn't going well. And, of course, every once in a while, it's like, oh, why did I miss that shot? Super simple. You took the eye off the ball. What's the number one, most important thing in most sports? It's the ball. Keep your eye
Yeah.
on that ball.
Where's the ball? It's a good thing.
Yeah.
So for you as a young coach, taking over a high school program, right? What is your biggest challenge at 25 years old of taking over a high school program, leading a bunch of young women and having parents and a school and all of the things? What is your biggest challenge that you're facing as a young high school coach right now?
Yeah, so I came in mid-season. There's some coaching changes, so I came in at mid-season. They had already started match play and everything. So again, with this trust, it was very difficult, of like,
Yeah.
who is this, on both parents, admins, students, play,
Yeah.
everything. But I've been coaching for so long, and I'm so confident in that ability, that I was like, all right, patience, time is of the essence. So again, it was really like in practices, it wasn't so much of like, hey, like, this is what we need to be working on today. It was like, again, like I had to get to know them. I needed them to get to know me. And then there's a lot of politics and stuff that I never would have expected. And I think that's been a great learning experience as
Yeah.
well. And then with parents and stuff, again, like, booster parents, people that just come and watch, again, they're all coming out of a place of love, and just learning how to navigate all of that. Um, it's difficult at times, because, like I said, I understand what it takes to win a championship. I understand what it takes to be successful. I studied it. Some of my favorite class I took was and youth in sport. And just kind of same thing, all the different type of coaching styles that really enforcing positivity. And so, but also everyone else thinks they know what it takes to be successful, which is great. Again, comes out of a place of love. So just really working and compromising with key stakeholders on how this all will work, while also just staying grounded and true to what I know firsthand. But you also have to be open-minded, because I did graduate high school 6 years ago. I did play a college sport for 1 year 6 years ago, or 7 years ago, something. And a lot has changed. Kids have changed. I mean, we're evolving. And so, you also have to be very open-minded to things and what people have to say. There's classes kids are now taking that I didn't even know you could take. And especially with AI, which I think is a complete resource. But again, everything is just constantly evolving. And so parents and players and teachers are firsthand within all this. And so to be open-minded to all that with what's going on is very important. And then also just sharing what my mission is, and my goals, and just always being very real with people, because I think when you're real with people, you'll get that back from them and you'll be able to be successful.
I am pretty convinced you're going to be successful. I've known you now for about 45 minutes, and you are an impressive young human. And I think learning you obviously had great parents and good coaches along the way that have shaped you, and you're gonna your philosophy is going to change as you grow, right? You're going to adapt, but you already have that mentality of adapt or die, right? You already understand the evolving nature of young people, and that it's happening faster and faster and faster. It used to be about every 10 years, it'd be generational. You're 6 years removed, and you're already seeing the difference, right? Like it's crazy how accelerated the changes are, and being willing to adapt as a coach to your young people to make sure you meet them where they are. You're way ahead of the curve on understanding that and providing a great experience for your young student athletes. Super impressive.
That's the biggest thing, is the experience. You want them to leave with having a good time, not, so I studied abroad when I was in college. We studied abroad in New Zealand, through Miami University. It was with my professor, Dr. Sam Morris, and Dr. Adam Beisel. And
Did you
that's what
go fly
really
fishing over there while you were
fly
there?
fishing. No, I went
Yes.
bungee jumping though. Bungee
Okay.
jumping,
All right.
whitewater rafting,
Oh my God, that
paragliding, zip
place
line.
is on
Yeah.
my bucket list. Once we get off air here, I need to ask you some questions about New Zealand. Okay, go ahead. Keep going.
It was the coolest experience ever. So we learned New Zealand, because they're such a small country, their sports are integrated into their government. So they have kind of like a department, like almost think of like an Olympic type of committee that's for their country within their government. The biggest pro of that is that they have organized sports from youth all the way through adulthood. And so that was, my biggest thing is coming in as a coach is I don't care if I'm coaching the best player or the worst player, really doesn't matter to me. I want them to still pick up a racket. I want them to still pick up a basketball, to still lace up their cleats by the time they're done being in an organized sport. And then to find, because there are, towns, colleges have intramurals, towns have like adult rec leagues. Those things are accessible. You do have to work for it a little bit more to find it, I feel like, here in the States, just because, of our size and everything. But I want the kids to still, be able to do that stuff. There's also so many apps and, again, resources to be able to find those communities. I think there's a basketball app primarily just to find people to play pickup. But like my friends and I, we'll go play tennis now. We'll just do some pickup tennis. We played pickup basketball the other day. I was having FOMO from March Madness. I've gotten into golfing. I've never golfed before in my life. But again, it's just one of those things where it's like I've had such a positive experience with sports that makes me want to continue playing and staying active. And this is, again, going back to kind of what you asked earlier of how, to create that type of lifestyle. And so that's my biggest thing is like, I don't want these kids to leave never wanting to pick up a tennis racket again or never wanting to try a new sport. Like I said, like when I got to college, I had lifted out of a garage for a few years. I just walked right into this gym where people are loaded. We have the kg plates. people are loaded up doing like 500-pound squats. I can barely do the bar, but I was like, yeah, I want to do this. I want to meet people. I want to have some fun, get my mind off of things. And I think that's the biggest thing where sports is, whether you go on to play college or pro or not, sports should be an outlet like that. And so that's my biggest thing I want for my team to know is that regardless of what you do, always remember how good of an experience you had on this team to then wanting to continue to play. That's the biggest thing. My kind of motto is play, keep people playing. Age shouldn't tell you when you stop playing.
Well, that's a great place to end. So something we do with everybody though, before we completely sign off, is there's two things. You gotta go take yourself back to your 13, 14-year-old self, knowing everything that you know now and the journey that you've kind of been on. Go tap that 14-year-old self on the shoulder. What advice would you give your 14-year-old self?
I think the biggest piece of advice I give my 14-year-old self is to smile a little bit more when the going gets tough. It's not that serious at times. And, when the tears start to roll down the face, take a deep breath. It's okay to feel those emotions, but it's gonna all work out in truly a weird way. And to just be the best, continue to be the best teammate possible and to be a friend of a friend.
That's fantastic. Okay. Well, I have really enjoyed this. The last thing on the agenda here today is the dad joke. So do you have a dad joke for me? Hopefully you have one for me.
I think I do.
Okay.
So,
all right. Let's hear it.
It's more of a riddle.
Okay. I like dad riddles are fine.
Fine. So there's 20
totally
people on a boat and they jump off the boat. 20 people jump off the boat into the water and they all survive except only 4 heads come to surface. How's that possible?
Okay, 20 people on a boat. They all fall off
into the water, yeah.
But everybody survives, but only 4 heads surface. How is that possible? I have no idea. I thought about it maybe, or if I asked AI.
4 heads. Only they're 4 heads. Because when you come up out of water, you're 4 heads. It's your forehead first.
Okay. It's good stuff. I'm going to tell that at the dinner table tonight. So,
I love it.
Natalie, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. This is looking forward to chatting with you again as you go through this journey. And the world needs people who want to be involved in athletics, have the perspective that you have about what it is supposed to be teaching and doing the good work to make sure that your young people are getting that. Keep it up. I really appreciate you doing this.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys taking the time to have me on here. I could talk sports all day at any level, so it's been such a pleasure.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Talk soon.
Yes.